The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
คุณกำลังฟังสมองของคุณอยู่ในขณะนี้ รายการจะเริ่มในเร็วๆนี้ สนุกไปกับมันได้เลย
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, YBOA Larson, and the future is now, people, and the future is grim. Welcome. It is a beautiful December 4th day. It's a wonderful Thursday. I keep losing track of time. It doesn't even feel like a real week to me. Honestly, I'm going to be real with you, but it is a nice day outside for me. The snow is not falling, but it's blustery. That's the issue. But the temperature is nicer than it was yesterday, I will admit that. So that is, we're improving in minor areas. Folks, I hope that you're having a wonderful Thursday. I hope that you're having a good one. We have a really intense batch of news for you today, folks. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Some stuff. Am I Swedish? What is that pronunciation? Some stuff, I don't know, in the pop culture dome, some stuff in the news dome, stuff that really matters, stuff that really doesn't. So, instead of dilly-dallying, I think we should all just hop right into it. Don't you agree? We have too much to cover. For example, our first story is the CEO of a biotech company pledges a future of designing your baby. Is this a bold new platform for optimizing the human race or a possible new age eugenics program? I mean, there's only one way to figure that out. It's for me to read you the story and for you to formulate your opinion. Let's begin. Nucleus Genomics, Genomics. It's not, as far as I'm familiar with, he's combining gene and like some sort of sciencey type of word. Listen, I'm on my A game, as you can tell. Founded in 2021 by 25-year-old entrepreneur Kian Sadeghi, Sadeghi, I'm guessing, in New York City, is a biotech startup specializing in whole genome sequencing, WGS. If you haven't heard of this, it is an advanced genetic analysis to deliver personalized health insights. Essentially, we take your DNA, we look at it under 50 billion microscopes, however they do it, and they break it down into what your eye color is, what your acne levels could be, what your proneness to breaking bones could be, what your alleged chances of developing dementia could be. Everything. They can, anything that they can genetically screen for, they can do. Backed by $32 million in funding from investors like the Founders Fund, Alexis Ohanian's 76, and Balaji Srinivasan. The company initially focused on consumer DNA testing for over 900 disease risks, including cancers, heart conditions, and cognitive traits. Priced at around $400 for saliva-based kits. Kind of like Ancestry, except it's way, way less fun to talk about. It has since expanded to reproductive technologies, notably through its IVF Plus program. Kind of freaky. If you know about IVF, it's cool. They're able to help people who are not able to get pregnant have babies. Allegedly, Tim Waltz had one. He said it on stage. He was like, well, thank God me and my wife had IVF, otherwise my daughter or whatever would be standing. And then here it turns out you looked in and they never actually had IVF. But that's okay. That's okay, right? It has since expanded to all of those sorts of things. It shifts positions Nucleus at the forefront of genetic health, emphasizing productive DNA-driven decisions for family planning. This is a very charitable way of saying that we're going to allow you to select, I don't know, what race your baby could be. Things like that. You know what I mean? There's it gets to a level of well, this is getting eugenics-y. If you're not familiar with eugenics, it's an old idea that we developed at a certain point where I'm going to break it down in the most basic of terms. People's skulls are shaped differently, and that's how we should order society. Some people, based on the shapes of their lips, based on the eye positions, everything, if you look at races, they're different. If you look at the shapes of people's skulls, they're different. Like, it is a full lean into the idea of, like, races being divided by, like, inherent differences. And it's, it's also been used to justify things. Notably, I don't know if anybody's heard of this thing called the Holocaust. It was kind of a big thing there. It was just for optimizing your society genetically. That was the nicest way of putting it. But it accounted to like abortions for diseases that we might not want, like Down syndrome, like autism. You know what I mean? Like, you can start to lean into things where it's like, okay, wait a minute though. I know some autistic people and people with Down syndrome who are perfectly fine folks. Yeah, sure, their parents might not have wanted to deal with them, and maybe they wouldn't have wanted to go through the troubles that they experienced with that kid, but does that inherently deny that person a right to life? I don't know. Maybe it's like we're entering weird areas ethically where it's like, I don't know that this is... I'm nervous about that. Okay, there's also been an aggressive marketing campaign. In New York's subways, ads proclaim, "Have your best baby." It's like, they went multicultural, obviously. They were like white, and then we got a slightly dark skin baby, and then a light skin. It's like, they didn't get anybody ebony, you know what I mean? Or notably, they didn't get anybody Asian. That's strange. It has drawn accusations of promoting eugenics, echoing Iceland's near 100% abortion rate for Down syndrome diagnoses, where prenatal screening since 2003 has led virtually no live births of affected children due to permissive laws allowing termination up to 22 weeks. This is true. This is a law that they've had for a long ass time, over 20 years at this point. And if you look at newer generations, Iceland's Down syndrome rate, virtually zero, due to the fact that everybody is choosing electively to kill their baby who may have it. Interesting, right? Isn't that kind of a weird area to be in, ethically? I mean, I like Shane Gillis. I don't like the idea of a world where we could breed out his types, eventually. Does that feel weird? Doesn't that feel bizarre? Like that, like... There's people where, like, Peter Dinklage, are we going to breed out midgets at a certain point? Because nobody wants to have short family members. Everybody wants to look like you're from the Netherlands, you know what I mean? Like, you're from, I don't know, a Nordic country where you're, like, 6'2" at I don't know, 14. I don't know that that's what everybody wants. I'm not sure. I have no clue. But, it like they say in the interview, it's like it all breaks down to the parents' decision. I totally agree. It is the parents' decision. I totally agree. Critics are arguing Nucleus's tools, which extend beyond disease prevention to selectable traits like IQ and height, could normalize de facto eugenics by empowering affluent parents to design offspring, potentially eroding societal diversity and stigmatizing genetic variations as defects, much like Iceland's screening outcomes affect cultural pressures towards perfection despite ethical debates over informed consent and disability rights. I want to go ahead and I want to play the CBS Mornings interview that they got with this guy, and you'll hear some of this stuff from in his own words, and you're going to be unnerved. You're personally going to hear it, and you're going to go, a shiver just ran down my spine. Damn it, why isn't it playing?
Very real. Would you design your future child? CEO Kian Sadeghi believes every parent has a right to do exactly that, selecting the qualities they most desire, from height to weight to intelligence. He calls it genetic optimization, and it's part of what's been called the Silicon Valley push to breed super babies. Companies, including Sadeghi's own Nucleus Genomics, say DNA screening of embryos can prevent disease while also giving parents the godlike ability to pick the baby of their particular dreams. So would you do it?
Would you?
Sat down with the 25-year-old founder to talk through it all.
I think it's really important to note that if they had this technology back in 2003, where it was like you could select these sorts of things about your baby's IQ, their work ethic, things like that, their dedication to school, I would not be here today. My parents would have edited, boop, that's gone, out. And then I would have been one of the things they would have cast aside, and they would have gone with something clearly of more intellect. That's okay. That's okay. I love the beauty of nature where they didn't have a choice in it essentially was a race to the egg. That's what's the beauty of nature. Like I beat out, and I've seen this meme so many times, it's accurate. You in the race to the egg, you beat out the person who could have cured cancer. You beat out, I don't know, someone who could have been an Olympic athlete. You beat out the person who could have I don't know, been the next president and been one that, I don't know, a lot of us liked. You know, you beat out all of those people so that average little old you could live somewhere in, I don't know, you know, Des Moines, Iowa. I love Des Moines. I'm not even going to target it. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful city with beautiful people. The people are, you know, they're kind. Whatever. Let's continue.
We give you the full range of insight there is to know about your future child.
Insight.
We really think it's the parent's right to know.
Meet Kian Sadeghi, the founder of Nucleus Genomics. It's a company that can deliver not just a healthier child, he says, but in the eyes of mom and dad, a more desirable child too.
They want us to, you know, play sports, and they want us to go to the best school. They want us to be well educated. They want us to thrive. Life, I think, as a parent, doesn't just stop at, I want my child to be healthy.
Which is why, at this sprawling facility in central New Jersey,
Well, how much lab space do you have here?
Oh, it's huge.
the company screens embryo samples for more than 2,000 traits and conditions, as they call them, meaning a lot that's disease or illness, and a lot that's debatable.
We look at something like height, even eye color, hair color. Intelligence. We give you
Acne.
yeah.
For $30,000, Nucleus offers a program called IVF Plus.
$30,000. Okay, yes, we're gonna create. Listen, it will be the future of, like, the genetically edited are the superior race, and then all of us, the normal people who did not get edited before we were put out in this world, the people that were, like, you know, we were before that age, we were before that time, and we only have, like, the meta chips. We only have the I don't know, whatever. It's the thing that allows us to control a drone just by thinking. You know what I mean? We have the implants, and maybe some of us, we have the robotic legs, because this is looking forward. This is like 2050 looking at it. You know, we're going to go like, yeah, that was before our time, and we're going to see, at that point, 30-year-olds. We're going to see 30-year-old people, because this stuff is happening right now. You know what I mean? These people are having babies now, probably have been since 2020, that have been genetically edited. These will be the new superior people. They will run faster, jump higher. Man, you know, what I look like, a charity case? This is crazy. I'm going to take those babies and throw it on the ground. I don't even know what to say about it. I can't, I'm not a part of your system. It's ridiculous. The core of Nucleus's baby designing process lies in the IVF Plus suite, a comprehensive fertility package that combines traditional in vitro fertilization with cutting-edge genomic screening. Couples undergoing IVF at partner clinics in Beverly Hills Fertility, that makes sense, submit to full WGS of both parents via Nucleus Preview, screening over 2,000 hereditary conditions, including rare disorders like cystic fibrosis. Good. You know what? That might be a good one to root out. I don't think we want to encourage any more babies to be having that. Embryos, up to 20 per cycle, are then biopsied and sequenced using polygenic risk scores, PRS, and AI models like Origin. AI. You want ChatGPT to be picking out your baby for you? They're going to get it completely wrong. They're going to get it 100% wrong. And your baby's going to come out and there's going to be a foot where there should be a head. It's nerve-wracking. Even mental health risks like anxiety or ADHD. Everybody's gone. Every person is gone. Does that include when you hand them the phone once they're, I don't know, one? Once they turn 4 months old and you hand them the iPad and that gives them anxiety and ADHD and body image issues at like 4? Like, listen, I'm trying to say that we need to account for the outside the womb factors as well. I don't think that they can guarantee that your kid will not develop ADHD or anxiety if you fuck them up. You know what I mean? That's not the thing. Can you imagine a parent, after they pay $30,000, they call in 15 years after having that baby and they're like, my fucking kid has anxiety. He's threatening to kill himself every night. He's sneaking his girlfriend in the house and they're like, now she's pregnant and now my son's gonna get a shotgun marriage. What did you do? He was supposed to come out normal. And then they're like, I don't know what to tell you, man. We can't account for personal decisions. And then he's like, well, you should. That's the next thing to screen for. And then you're going to get a big payout, by the way. That's going to be a big thing. I'm excited for that. Parents can receive an intuitive dashboard to sort out and compare embryos, selecting based on weighted score, prioritizing health, appearance, performative metrics. Wow. IVF Plus includes end-to-end support, donor/surrogate matching for $25,000 premium tiers, genetic counseling via partners like SteadyMD and embryo transfer guidance. Standalone nucleus embryo analysis for those already in IVF costs $5,999 to $8,999. That's not $6K to $9K. That's what I said it was. $5.999 and $8.999 for up to 20 embryos. 20 embryos, that's all of this gets you. That's not a lot. If you know a lot about outside gene editing and whatnot, you know that a lot of these things, some of them are not going to adhere. Some of them are going to be like you're gonna go to the bathroom in a week and you're gonna have your period because the egg will not cling to the wall and whatnot. You know, and then it won't travel to the womb, and that's exactly what happens in most of these instances. So I'm just gonna say, I don't love that. I don't love that you have to pay that much for them possibly not to adhere in most instances.
Which includes full DNA scans of both parents and up to 20 embryos conceived through in vitro fertilization.
And then you can actually do the compare. You can very easily compare them. Okay?
I'm super interested.
The results come back in the form of a sleek, user-friendly menu.
Depression, bipolar, autism. Wow.
Autism, yeah.
Allowing parents to minimize disease, according to Sadeghi, while maximizing the traits they prefer.
You can see here that this embryo is basically about an inch taller than typical.
Shopping, in effect, among potential future children before picking the one they want to implant.
You use the term genetic optimization.
Yeah.
I know other people would say eugenics. Right?
He laughs.
I knew you'd have a reaction to that word.
Eugenics is a 19th century idea used to justify some of the 20th century's darkest chapters, all in pursuit of supposedly superior genes.
Genetic optimization is not eugenics because...
By any stretch. Because it's fundamentally about empowering people with information that they can use to give their child the best start in life. Yes, if you want 2 inches taller for your child, 3 inches taller, right? If you want a couple IQ point difference, absolutely by all means do that. But I'm saying, what you're really asking me here, you're asking me, what is life about? That's actually what you're trying to get at. When you talk about height and IQ, right, they're abstractions of life.
Sadeghi's life as an entrepreneur started back in 2021 when he dropped out of the University of Pennsylvania to launch Nucleus. Inspired, he says, by a cousin who died of a rare genetic illness.
That's why today...
Have you noticed that they always have, like, if these are going to be, like, world-ending things, they always have a sob story. Or, like, do you remember Elizabeth Holmes? The woman who had Theranos, the blood test kit where it would only need a drop of your blood, not the big-ass vials, which I'm still terrified to go to the doctor to get my blood screened because of those things. But Elizabeth Holmes, she went ahead and she had this sob story about her uncle. My uncle died of cancer, and that is why we need to make this available to every person in their home. Like, that was her defense of this, and I've noticed that every person, if they cannot actually think of facts, if they don't have statistics, if they don't have anything solid in ground, they will go to personal anecdotes and emotional pleas. It's the weirdest thing, and it's something that I never take seriously when a conversation resorts to that. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Let's continue. Let's finish this up.
I'm excited to announce IVF Plus.
Backed by investors like billionaire Peter Thiel and...
I think that says enough. I actually think that says plenty. Wait, let's just hear the rest of the investors, because Peter Thiel... Interesting. Very curious.
And Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian.
Reddit and Palantir are hopping on the genetic engineering. I didn't see that. I really didn't see that. You know, it's a 56-minute interview with CBS Morning News, so if you want to check it out for yourself, make your own estimates of the situation, I really encourage you to do so, because this is a very curious situation. I'm very nervous. I don't know. I hope that it continues to stay elective. I hope that it is more so, if you want to genetically engineer your baby, you have the option. I don't know what it says about our future, but it's a fun day to be living in. It's a fun age to be alive. Folks, let's take a break for an ad. Gingerbread Homes TM. I want you to head over to this website. They now have historically accurate catastrophe technology. What does that mean? Folks, are you tired of the same boring gingerbread house that just sits there looking cute while the kids eat the gumdrops? It's like, knock it off. We put a lot of effort into this. And it doesn't, by the way, it doesn't even look that good. So half the time you're like, is it even worth fighting over? It's just like this home that I live in with these two brats. Is this home worth fighting for? This home that is just crumbling at the seams, much like the crumbling fucking thing that my children's greasy little mitts are all over. Is this home worth fighting for anymore? Folks, ditch that awful, griping feeling this year. Give the gift that educates, traumatizes, and mildly violates local zoning laws. Gingerbread Homes, the only edible architecture line that recreates the most controversial moments in human history with museum-grade precision and zero regard for good taste. Choose from our 2025 controversy collection. We have the World Trade Center Twin Towers, two majestic 18-inch towers made with spiced gingerbread, complete with candy glass windows, real powdered sugar dust clouds, and that release it. You know what I mean? It's like a mechanism. Pull the fondant United 175 and watch the physics happen in delicious slow motion. Second Temple, Titus Flavius memorial set. If you are a biblical fellow, we have a stunning 1 to 200 scale replica of the famous Second Temple, hand-piped with gold icing and 24-karat edible leaf. Comes with the 10th Legion gingerbread centurions, battering ram licorice logs, and tiny fondant arch of Titus so that you can loot the menorah yourself. Menorah candles double as sparklers for that authentic everything is on fire ambiance. And then, of course, rounding out that collection, we have the Little Saint Gingerbread Island Luxury Compound, the private Caribbean getaway, royal icing McMansion sugar cube tarmac, and working tiki bar made of Pop-Tarts. Includes a detachable Lolita Express gum paste jet and 12 mysterious gingerbread guests whose faces have been tastefully left blank. Flight logs are available in PDF sections for serious collectors. And then, of course, we have our DLC packs, the Chernobyl Reactor 4, the Hindenburg Zeppelin, and the Titanic Luxury Ocean Liner. Folks, each gingerbread home kit is baked and unionized by unionized elves, earning a living wage and then immediately fired for asking questions. 100% gluten-free, not recommended for children under 45 or anyone with functioning empathy. Order now and receive a limited edition January 6th Capitol Rotunda bonus dome included free while supplies last or until the FBI asks us to stop. Gingerbread Homes, because some memories are too spicy to forget. Folks, our second story, we got The View is not news. It is, unfortunately, it is a panel of the dimmest bulbs that the XX chromosomes have to offer. It's unfortunate. I was indoctrinated. It's unfortunate. I watched for Sunny Hostin occasionally because I was like, oh, she's a lawyer. She's like, she understands things. She has a legal background and whatnot. And then, of course, Whoopi Goldberg's Sister Act. How can you not be into that? Folks, it's ABC's long-heralded TV show. People have called it the most important political TV show in America by outlets like the New York Times. It has positioned itself as a platform for unfiltered women's perspectives on politics and culture. And I listen, it's a big one. It is huge. If you have a mom and she is awake at 10 a.m., and maybe she's at home, maybe she's at her desk, maybe wherever, she is tuning in somehow to The View, because this is, listen, it is a cultural, it's a big thing that if you're maybe a little younger, it's just kind of something you've heard about in the background. It's hard to tell you the actual kind of weight that this television show carried in the early days that it started. This was featuring, like, people my age, they're like, Joy Behar, that's just that woman who squawks like a bird. And it's like, no, she's a stand-up veteran, but she has no policy background, obviously. Whoopi Goldberg, she's an Oscar-winning actress, but she is a political novice, admittedly. Sunny Hostin, she's a legal analyst, yet prone to being performatively advocative. Then there's TV personality Sarah Haynes, former GMA anchor and light news credits. Strategist Alyssa Farah Griffin and Anna Navarro, both ex-Trump aides turned never-Trumpers. I'm going to be honest with you. Ever since they dropped Meghan McCain, it's lacking depth of bona fide experts, like former co-host Barbara Walters. This is back in the day where they really had some minds where you would go like, okay, maybe there's some weight to these opinions. I look at The View now, and it's unfortunate because it's kind of devolved into this fest of feelings and kind of how that story is just like, oh, we're not going to think about the profound worldly aspects of it and whatnot. We're not going to think about whatever entirely. It's going to be more so, how does this, like, there are mothers and fathers. You got Whoopi Goldberg. She sounds more masculine than me. I love her. I love Whoopi Goldberg. Don't get me wrong, but she, I'm sorry, she does not compute to me as a person of very high intellect. But I want to go into their latest piece because this was 2 days ago. It's covering a story that we went ahead and we covered the last few episodes because it's been in the news. It's been breaking and national. They went ahead and they covered the Waltz administration's lax oversight and how that could have led to the fraud instances. I'm joking, of course. They went ahead and they actually completely pivoted the conversation from the fraud happening in Minnesota. They completely, absolutely did not, they were just like, nope, we're going to anchor that, we're going to left turn this into a conversation about Trump hypocrisy and other things. Listen. I love the fact that they can have whatever opinions they want. They can have as left-leaning opinions as they want. The story itself is not about Trump. The story itself, if you want to make it about how he called Tim Walz a retard, make it about how he called Tim Walz a retard. But then that's completely ignoring the fact that the original story, and I know that it's hard when Trump is talking, it's very hard to get he gets lost in rhetoric because he says so much shit. It's hard to, be like, I'm offended by a lot of the things he says when he says so goddamn much. But yes, sometimes he says things like Tim Walz is a retard, and that cuts through. And listen, I hate when he does it because it distracts from the actual issue, where there is substantial evidence to support the fact that state employees reported fraud to Tim Walz. He himself did not acknowledge it. He silenced them, and that was that. But they didn't comment on any of that. They didn't have anything to say about these allegations. They went ahead and they just... I actually want to play it. I want to play it because I don't want to be the person who's like, just take my word for it, buddy. Let's listen.
So you know who is attacking Minnesota Governor Tim Walz?
Don't say you know who. They have this trait. I've listened to a couple of because I listen to The View because I love going to bed angry and I love making myself upset. So... I listen to this. They always refer to him as you know who, and it's weird. I don't get it. It's kind of like it's like an ongoing joke. I get it, but a little bit, but like whatever. It's just weird.
Waltz over Somali Americans in Minnesota who were convicted of defrauding a COVID-era government program for hundreds of millions of dollars. He called the governor a slur for people with intellectual disabilities. And here's what Tim Walz responded.
The seriously blank governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing either through fear, incompetence, or both.
Using that term is just so damaging. It's hurtful. We have fought 3 decades to get this out of our schools. Kids know better than to use it. But look,
He's not in school. What are you talking about? He's not in school. Okay, that's a weird pull, but I guess, yes. I don't understand. You're not running for office right now. Well, you're running for governor, but you're not running for vice president. You don't need to keep up the coach bullshit. That was just something you put on for the rest of the country. The rest of us Minnesotans saw through it. We were like, you're not our social studies teacher. You're just like, you're a guy. You're a guy who, like, I assume wants to do some good, but also you're a little weirdly influenced by China. It's okay.
What Donald Trump has done, he's normalized this type of hateful behavior.
He has.
And this type of language.
It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that Donald Trump has issued in this era of just slinging shit. Well, listen, there's always been slinging shit, but he's a bitch. He's dramatic in ways that we've never seen before. It's never been on this level. I would agree with that statement. I want you to address your issue, though. I want you to address the fraud. I don't want you to keep talking about how Trump is worse. That's the issue. I never understand. I get that it's easier to talk about the faults of your enemy than it is to talk about your successes or why you need to correct your behavior. It's so much easier to talk about other people's ills than yours. I get that. But I want to see more accountability when you're on Meet the Press.
And mainly, look, at first I think it's just because he's not a good human being. But secondly,
yes, we know.
Incompetency.
Who is this news to, by the way, that he's not a good human being? We know this.
I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely, sure. You have a problem with him? You know what? I think there's something wrong with him.
Well, so here's what's interesting. Because if you're upset about fraud...
Is she about to do, like, Fox News level whataboutism? You're thinking in your head... Fox News, it's not normally the liberals that go like, well, what about the Republicans? Our guy might be doing something bad, because that was a big Trump thing. That was all of 2020. That was all of his first term. That was literally all of his first term. That it was the Republicans, every time they were called out for something, they would go, well, the Democrats, look at what about Hillary Clinton? What about Benghazi? What about this? Whataboutism was their biggest tool. Now it's slowly shifting. It's shifting. I'm shifting. It's always the party that is not in power that begins to use it. This is odd. I feel as though she's about to go into a slinging shit fest where she refuses to acknowledge that Tim Walz may have had a hand in something. And she's going to go ahead and she's going to talk about the ills of the Trump administration or people near him or him himself. Let's find out.
In 2018, a judge ruled that who had to pay $25 million due to his fraudulent university. In February 2024, a New York judge found him, his sons, and his organization liable for fraud. Then 3 months later, he was found guilty on 34 counts of fraud in relation to his paying off of Stormy Daniels. And just this weekend, he commuted the sentence of David Gentile, a private equity exec who was convicted on defrauding thousands of investors in a one...
Because he's a retard. Does anybody get this? Does anybody at this point understand that he's a retard?
$1.6 billion scheme. Now look, if fraud is wrong, you gotta catch up with everybody. This is
what?
Tim Walz said, I put these people in jail. Yeah. It wasn't like we sat around and didn't do anything. And the horrific part is, why is he painting all Somali Americans with this paintbrush?
Oh, yeah, listen, the word he used to describe Tim Walz is a word that I refuse to use.
Miss Piggy's got something to say.
My entire life, because I'm actually, as you all know, I have a brother who is intellectually disabled. That's Daniel.
Intellectually disabled.
Brother. He's 61 years old now. That's me when I was a little girl. Daniel is verbal, self-injurious, autistic.
I love you, Anna Navarro.
24/7 care. I grew up watching little kids stare at Daniel. Yeah.
Why is she taking this opportunity to tell a personal anecdote, a personal story? This is weird. I don't understand. You're here to talk facts, you're here to talk logic, you're here to talk, but we're going to talk emotions. We're going to act like we all have Chardonnay. We're going to act like we have a charcuterie board, and we look at her big ass, what's it called? She's stunning, by the way. She's a beautiful woman, but she's got these huge leaf, what's it called? Earrings, these things that just dangle, and then she's got this nice green shirt. She's looking great, but she's hilarious. I don't understand why you're taking this opportunity to talk about my brother is, he's intellectually disabled, and when he said that, it hurt.
Yeah. Mimic his gestures, mimic his sounds, and parents would scold their children, would discipline the children, and teach them the lesson that you don't do that with the neediest amongst us, which are these disabled people. For me, the straw that broke the camel's back with Trump was when I saw him in the 2016 campaign making fun and mimicking that disabled person. Look, when kids see somebody like the President of the United States using those words and being a bully and just perpetuating cruelty that way, they learn that it's okay. He's normalizing it and they mimic it. And so shame on Donald Trump for picking on the most vulnerable amongst us. And all of those parents and family members of people with disabilities need to speak up on this, because disabilities are not Republican or Democrat.
Right.
They hit all of us, and it is just because he's such a cruel person.
And there are people that are on the Republican side of the aisle. I agree with you. This is not a Democratic issue. It's not a Republican issue. We all either have someone in our family, or know someone, or know a family,
or have been raised well enough.
Is this whole conversation going to be about retarded people? I don't understand why they're pivot. Like, okay, yes, it's not okay to say that. What are we gonna do? It's already been said.
Not to do that.
Yeah, but we have people that are differently abled in all of our families or all of our friend groups, and so it's horrible that he's trying to normalize those kinds of slurs against that community. But Indiana
I've known people with disabilities of some extent. I've known some people, and I've heard the defense many times that it's like, it's not okay. The R word, as it's often referred to, it's not okay to be using it casually. I understand that that's some people's arguments. I get it, and it's not. Sure, in polite conversation, you shouldn't be dropping hard R. That's not what hard R means, but you shouldn't be dropping hard R. You know what I mean? That's not appropriate when you're at dinner. But in bullshit talk, as I think everybody does every now and then, are you going to say that it is on the same level as the hard R? I don't think you are, and I don't think it's like people are trying to... There are always levels of this where people will try to find new versions of the word that is now offensive. Schizo is a big one that everybody's trying to say, might be a big one that we got to worry about now, schizo. Calling somebody, because it references schizophrenia, and it's like, well, maybe that's offensive to schizophrenic people, and I'm like, they might not even know that I said it, because I could tell them that I'm not actually real, and they could believe it. Like, listen, I'm sorry, but it's kind of true. It's whatever. Let's just finish this up.
State senator says he will now vote no on redistricting after Trump used the slur because his daughter has Down syndrome. And so, again, it is not a political issue. It's a human issue. And to what Walt said, I can't look into this president's heart, but I can look at his actions, and he is behaving and acting as a horrible human being.
I love this. I love this. They have all the energy of scolding mothers. They're like, I read something that my son Brian uploaded on Instagram, and the way that his friend, his buddy Cameron, talked about women is disgusting. And just to see my boy to behave in such a way is so disappointing. It's so, and then they all just, they're like, no, it's okay. We have to educate, and we have to be there. Because listen, that's our job as mothers. If motherhood is suffering, that's all it ever is. Girl, you know that. Girl, you know it. And then they all go, mm-hmm. None of them are black, but they all go like that. It's fun.
You're concerned about the playgrounds. As a parent, you're worried about what your kids will hear.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Is anybody going to talk about the fraud? Is anybody going to discuss the fraud?
You don't jump straight to what if the president says something like that. But I also think when you have a parent, and Anna, you can speak to this, or a loved one of someone who is disabled, their number one concern is not that the child or the person has a disability. It's how the world will treat the disability.
Oh my God.
So it's often this protectionism. So to hear that, I can imagine what a gut punch this is. But what a political misstep for President Trump too, though, because who can't get on board with being mad at $1 billion in fraud? But guess what? Now people are distracted by his personality. $1
once again,
stop being distracted by it then. Stop being distracted if you're criticizing the idea that he is distracting people with his rhetoric. Stop being distracted by his rhetoric. Don't you realize that that's the game with this guy, that his rhetoric half the time doesn't even match with what he actually has in his head? I would actually say it matches about 20% of the time. But have you realized that he says a lot of shit that he does not mean the majority of the time? He bullshits, and I'm sorry, I know that is too masculine of energy. It is. In a lot of times it's like, well, you don't know what I'm gonna do, and I like to keep it individualized. I like to keep it single and shit. He's very mysterious. He likes that kind of weird. Like, listen, you have to understand that it's a prime aspect of the male gender for some reason, for them to like putting plans together, feeling like they're devising something. You know what I mean? It's like mad scientist energy. But it's like it's kind of a farce. They know that it's a farce, unless of course they're the president. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, well then you do have a level of power that's like, all right, whatever. I don't understand. If you are criticizing him for distracting everybody, why are you falling exactly in place where he wants you to be? He doesn't want you to talk about anything like that. He wants you to, He wants you to be distracted. He wants you to be hateful so that people think that you're stupid when you can't actually talk about the fraud. That's the game.
He undermined a good move, and he should have done it.
He did it in the first campaign, and people still
I remember.
voted for him.
No, I remember
So
that.
the question is, what's wrong with America?
Yeah.
That, we are looking the other way and voting for a man capable of this cruelty.
Don't forget what this also is impacting.
I love that they're trying to play her off.
It is impacting innocent people from Somalia.
Yeah.
Who have nothing to do with any of this, who are now being targeted because this man doesn't remember that he too was involved in fraud. Even though he says, no, I wasn't. You know, everybody said, no, I wasn't. Pete Hegg said, no, I didn't. This one said, no, I didn't. So, you know, you got to count your P's and Q's, babe. Pay attention.
That's it. Yes, we got to count our P's and Q's, and we got to pay attention. In the words of Whoopi Goldberg, folks, count your P's and Q's and pay attention. I think we need to take her advice, and we need to jump into the rapid fire section of today's headlines, because there's quite a few things that I didn't have the time to write a headline on. I didn't have the time to write a full story on because I'm lazy. But that's okay. That's okay, right? We have a U.S. brokered peace deal signed between DR Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Rwanda. A long-awaited agreement to end the conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo is set to be signed in Washington today, aiming to curb Rwandan-backed rebel violence. However, ongoing ground clashes raise doubts that its immediate impact will be felt, whatever you want to say. Yeah, I hope that things go well with that. I don't know. I don't own anything Rwandan. I don't personally know anybody Rwandan or Democratic Republic of Congoan. But I only wish the best. We wish them well. Trump pardons Democratic Representative Henry Cuellar amid bribery charges. President Trump announced a pardon of Texas Representative Cuellar, indicted on bribery allegations, sparking backlash from Democrats who call it political favoritism just days after charges were filed. I mean, he can pardon whoever he wants, I guess. He's going to continue to pardon. I'm guessing the next one could be... Who's on death row right now? Do we have any, notable people on death row? He might just flat out pardon anybody at this point. If you're living in Argentina and you're hiding out after World War II, we want you in America because you could be servicing our military operations. I think that we need a Project Paperclip Part 2. Why not? European Union, is eyeing a 90 billion euro aid to Ukraine using frozen Russian assets. The European Union is proposing tapping into Russian funds or issuing loans to deliver massive financial support to Ukraine, bolstering its defense against ongoing invasion amid stalled U.S. commitments. If Europe wants to fund that region a little more, I don't have an issue with that idea because it's it's across the sea. Why? I don't entirely know how much more I want to involve us. Quite frankly, Russia they're up to a lot of stuff, and I think that we need to be a little more careful on their borders. Israel to reopen Rafah crossing for Gaza evacuations following Hamas's return of remains. Israel announced the Rafah border with Egypt will reopen soon, allowing thousands of Palestinians to flee to Gaza amid humanitarian crisis and ceasefire talks. Good for them. Pentagon Chief Hegseth's Signal chat violated security rules. A watchdog report accuses Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth of breaching regulations by using an encrypted Signal app for official talks, potentially endangering troops with leaked sensitive info. I mean, is anybody at all shocked by this? I mean, he was probably on a bender. I remember when he said he would stop drinking if he actually got the position. And I don't know, something about his water, it doesn't look like water to me the majority of the time. House Democrats, this is fascinating, people. They've released new footage of Epstein's Island. What on earth? We actually have footage to play of this. Freshly declassified images of Jeffrey Epstein's private Caribbean retreat were unveiled, providing graphic new details of the disgraced financier's activities, fueling calls for further probes. This is awesome.
Turn now to this
Let's
new
play.
The Jeffrey Epstein case. Rare video and images right here tonight from Jeffrey Epstein's Island. Inside his mansion, the room with a dentist chair and masks on the wall. You'll remember President Trump signed that bill into law, 30 days to release the files, with 2 weeks now left. Here's our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky.
New
Tonight,
island
a rare
shit.
look at Jeffrey Epstein's private Caribbean island, where he allegedly exploited dozens of young women and girls. Video of the secluded hideaway shows the grounds, the pool, the view, along with interior images of a bedroom and bathroom, and a room with a dental chair and face masks of men tacked to the wall.
Oh my god. There's a dentist chair, like it looks like a very medical office looking thing, and it looks like they have like bald men with beards, kind of men with mustaches, receding hairlines, just like weird masks of men. This is really bizarre. All right.
House Democrats releasing these images today as they pressure the Trump administration to release all of the Epstein files, joining a chorus of Epstein's accusers.
We're ready for the next step, and we're ready to finally release the files. All the files.
Congress passed, and President Trump signed a law requiring the Justice Department to release the records within 30 days. There are just 2 weeks left. But tonight, a potential obstacle. An attorney for Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, said today she'll soon file a petition challenging her sex trafficking conviction. Maxwell is expected to file her petition at this courthouse, David, and the Justice Department could try to use it as a reason to withhold certain files in the event Maxwell is granted a new trial. However unlikely that may be.
Listen, we got to consider the facts that we need to believe all women. We need to, in this era, consider the fact that women have been put down by society. They've been put down so much. They have been scapegoated by the millions. It's horrific. They've been treated as second-class citizens for the longest time. That is why I'm beginning the campaign today to free Ghislaine Maxwell. I believe that it is viciously important that we either sign petitions, we get personal representation, we get someone like Robert Shapiro, we get like actual I know that, listen, some of these people, these legal representatives that we want, Johnny Cochran, some of them may be retired, some of them may be dead. We don't know. But I think we need to get real experts on this case. Alan Dershowitz is still out there. He's somewhere out there in the ether, and we need to find him, and we need to get him on this case because, quite frankly, they're victimizing another woman for the crimes of a man, and it's vicious, it's evil, and I don't want to see it. It's disgusting. It's evil. Folks, federal immigration raids launch in New Orleans and Minneapolis. I love these two cities. I've been to both of them. I love this. I feel like a soul connection to both of these cities. Regrettably, even though Minneapolis is decaying, I went to New Orleans. It didn't seem that bad. It seems like they're recovering, quite frankly, from the floods, from all that kind of garbage. It seems like they're doing very well. The food is incredible, all of that. I love that place. It might end up being a place where I go and move to and die. I'm really happy with that idea. because I don't know, maybe it's the Mississippi River's connection between the whole place. I love that Lake Itasca region. I don't know. This whole region of the country that we attained during the Louisiana Purchase. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, I love it. This was slightly western, not really western region. It's beautiful. But they're kicking off raids. They are kicking bitches out. They are cleaning out the place, and quite frankly, if they're able to clean out a couple radio stations owned by migrants and whatnot, if they're able to clear out like a studio or something, we will be making a fresh announcement that we will be moving operations to Louisiana in order. Listen, it's not my fault the po' boys are delicious. The muffaletta is an art piece in and of itself. I don't want you to be judging me just because I take a newly open space. It's not my business why it's open. It's not my business what happened to the previous owners. I don't need to hear about it, and I don't need you hassling me. Folks, the next thing is important. A San Fran company is looking to skinny up your cat with GLP-1 weight loss drugs. That's right. We got Ozempic for cats now. Ocava, a pharmaceutical company, said it will begin clinical trials on 30 cats soon with implantation devices that will continuously administer the drug for up to 6 months. Don't get this. Just feeds your cat less, you shitty owner. Your cat will not have a skeleton if you do this. It will reduce its brain function. We're already seeing this in people who are taking weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy and whatnot, that it's not reducing their overall fat content. It's because, listen, if you're on weight loss drugs and whatnot, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not a great idea. Just reduce how much you're intaking. That's the only actual way to lose this weight, because when you're losing weight with these Ozempic things, with these Wegovy whatnot, you're losing muscle tissue more than you're losing your fat. You are actually gaining fat. You are losing skeletal structure. You're losing all of that. And then sure, you're trimming up and whatnot, but your actual health is suffering, and you're just as fat and unhealthy, but you're just skinnier, you're tighter, and that's mostly because of your reduction in actual important tissue. But whatever, we can just talk about that. If you give your cat this, you're a shitty person. Let's look at this footage.
Humans have Ozempic and Wegovy for weight loss. Now, a San Francisco company is looking to slim down fat cats with GLP-1 drugs. Ocava Pharmaceuticals announced it will begin a new GLP-1 clinical weight loss study on 50 cats. In the study, a miniature implant will deliver the drug continuously for up to 6 months. The company says the goal is to file for FDA approval in the next couple of years. The drug company says it plans to study dogs next.
Nerve-wracking, horrible. I think this is awful. We need to avoid this at all costs, because if we're already seeing awful side effects in humans, shit that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy, I don't know that you want to be wishing it on your cat anytime soon. Folks, we're going to hop into our third story because it's important to talk about these things. And we have a new article that has recently broken from the Free Press. I know that a lot of people, you're going to go like, it's controlled by Israel. Shut up. We need to talk about this because it's an important report that actually is administered from somebody who went through the Free Press. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to review it because there's a lot to talk about here. We are just winging it. What gender doctors are saying in private and how this recent revelation could redefine the conversation around gender sciences and wokeism. Folks, there is an article that has recently been published. We are all just winging it. What gender doctors are saying in private. Published by the Free Press on December 3rd. It's authored by Lior Sapir, and it exposes the stark contrast between public assertions of gender clinicians and their candid admissions in private settings. If you don't know anything about this kind of region of study, gender clinicians and whatnot, they deal in the science of gender transition therapy, hormone therapy, anything of that regard. And it's newer in the ideas where we're dealing with surgeries. We're dealing with actual real transitioning things. They've been doing the like minor feminizations and whatnot, like they did this for Bruce Jenner back in the day. All of these things are relatively new in the idea of like the last 50 years, where we're really starting to get like really solid ideas of how we can turn a man into a woman, at least with science. Not necessarily, like it's not, They will never truly be a woman because they'll never have uterus, they'll never actually bleed out of their vagina, they'll never actually carry a child, they'll never actually have any of the meaningful experiences of womanhood. So they will be a trans woman, but they will never be a true woman. Like, that's the science that we have figured out at this point. This article is drawing from exclusive footage obtained from closed-door conferences of the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, WPATH, and the U.S. Professional Association for Transgender Health in 2021. The piece reveals clinicians openly acknowledging the lack of robust evidence for performing irreversible procedures like puberty blockers, hormones, and surgeries on minors and vulnerable adults. A lot of people will say that hormone blockers and puberty blockers are completely reversible. That is a massive lie. It has been promulgated by many circles. It is not scientifically proven. As a matter of fact, the scientific studies that we've seen have found that it has had a dramatic, weird effects on these people's bodies. So no, this is not a reversible study. Certain instances of like offsetting puberty, sure. If you offset it for like a year or so, but then you would then return back to it, sure, it will have less effects. But if your child's been on it for maybe then 5 years or so, they're going to have, serious issues with the way that their gender presents now that you've loaded them up with the other gender's chemical. It's factually true. The UK scientific medicine place did this, and many other institutes, Danish places did this. They had child clinics where they shut them down. They literally shut them down because they realized, okay, you can be too young to make permanent gender choices. You can be too young to actually have that sense of identity that's strong enough to where you can make permanent life choices. One striking example features Amy Penkin, a social worker at Oregon Health and Science University's Transgender and Health program, describing a case where a patient with a history of sexual abuse and suicidal ideation was fast-tracked for interventions despite unresolved trauma, with Penkin admitting, "We're all just winging it." Other clips show doctors discussing patients with potential paraphilias, sexual fetishes, or autism-seeking transitions, and expressing concerns about legal liabilities from practicing on the edge of medicine, quote-unquote. The article frames these revelations as evidence of the industry operating on intuition rather than science, contrasting sharply with WPATH's public standards of care, which emphasize evidence-based practice. At its core, the article is highlighting a culture of internal doubt and bravado among gender specialists who, away from public scrutiny, confess to bypassing comprehensive mental health evaluations and long-term outcome studies. For instance, clinicians like Dr. Scott Dahan from Seattle's Children's Hospital are recorded debating how to navigate informed consent when patients may not fully be able to grasp the sterility or sexual dysfunction risks of treatments. Yet proceed anyway to avoid accusations of gatekeeping. So these people, when pressed by, 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, when pressed by actual teenagers or their parents or whatever, they will, instead of divulging to scientifically proven the idea that maybe these kids are too young for this stuff, instead of divulging to their actual inherent suspicion that's kind of understandable and kind of like human, they will instead provide your child whatever is necessary to their supposed suffering. The piece also traces the historical roots of pediatric gender medicine to the mid-20th century experiments, such as psychologist John Money's discredited theories on gender malleability, suggesting modern practices echo these unproven origins. If you don't know about John Money, this was the twins experiment where one male, this was two males, one was born with a penis that was mildly deformed. They decided to invert it completely, dress it out, and then they said, we will raise this boy as John Money, the doctor who performed the surgery, believed that this boy, if raised in the societal pretext of being a girl, his parents treated him like a girl, his brother treated him like he was a girl, and they just raised him this way, that he would eventually have this, I'm a girl, and that he believed that gender was a social construct. Eventually, the boy began to feel mad amounts of dysphoria. He began to be like, I don't feel right in this feminine body. Eventually, he ends up killing himself at a later age, I believe in his later 20s, and it was a complete failure. John Money, he was never prosecuted for this. He was never held accountable for his absolute mutilation of children. It was insane. It was not okay. But a lot of people, a lot of gender people that want to talk about the aspects of how it's more complex than that, man. They'll never point to studies that are actually showing how complex it is, showing that children are really getting hurt from studies like this. Themes of coercion emerge too. Families are allegedly pressured with unsubstantiated suicide threats to approve transitions, while doctors express pride in affirming care despite admitting that it's at its experimental nature. Sapir, a fellow at the Manhattan Institute, uses videos surfaced amid ongoing lawsuits against WPATH to argue that field prioritizes ideology over patient safety, particularly for youth grappling with comorbidities like depression or neurodivergence. So completely ignoring that area of debate. The expose could significantly intensify the already polarized debate on youth gender-affirming care. I think that there's a major... You'll see that a lot of left-leaning people are at best lukewarm on this issue, to where they'll go, I'm in favor of parents and the kids making the choice that they feel is right. They like to take the really mad libertarian angle, whereas in a lot of other instances of like government mandated taxes in order to have free public buses, all these sorts of things, in order to all whatever, blah, blah, they will get really authoritarian on all that, but they will go mad libertarian on anything when it comes to like, I think it's up to the parents and the kids. It's up to the parents and the kids. It's not up to the parents and the kids whether or not they go to public school. They need to go to a public school. Or a private school. They can't go homeschool. Homeschooling is not okay. All of those sorts of things. Private education, all that. They want public schools because that's like a very left-leaning policy. But when it comes to medical interventions and all those sorts of things, it's very stay out of everybody else's business. Stay out of everybody else's business. I guess it's not exactly logically consistent. This is providing fresh ammunition to critics, pushing legislative restrictions, with 27 states, mostly Republican-led, having enacted bans or limits on such treatments for minors as late as in late 2025. Sorry. This is it's eroding public trust already in organizations like WPATH, prompting calls for federal oversight, mandatory clinical trials, or even professional sanctions. On the flip side, advocates for transgender rights might dismiss it as selective editing or agenda-driven journalism from the Free Press, a Barry Weiss-founded outlet known for contrarian takes, potentially deepening divides, and fueling media wars. Broader ripple effects could also include heightened scrutiny of medical ethics boards, insurance coverage denials, and surge in detransitioner testimonies, ultimately shifting the discourse from affirmation as the default to a more cautious, evidence-driven model. There's no issue with that. We're gonna prioritize therapy over medicalization. Doesn't that sound better as just an idea? Let's go ahead and let's play this clip from the Free Press. Why not? Let's do it. Go play. You son of a bitch.
Their clinicians talk to each other. They say things that are very different from what they say when they talk to their colleagues in the medical field, and especially different from what they say to the public at large. The goal of treatment is no longer to help people assimilate into society as the sex that they feel that they are. Rather, the goal is to help individuals achieve their highly individualized embodiment goals. These are interventions designed to help people achieve whatever configuration of male and female features that they want. At the Dornbecker Children's Hospital in particular, they openly say things like, we've had patients, they want to appear neither male nor female, they want full radical castration, they want to have a flat pouch where their genitals used to be. They had a patient coming in saying, I want to look like Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Show. And so these are the types of patients that are on the rise. We are no longer dealing, as we used to, with adult males. We are now dealing with mostly young people. There's no guardrails, there's no mental health assessments. In fact, As I mentioned in the piece, some of the clinicians at OHSU openly and proudly say we should be facilitators and enablers. It's our job to make sure that these young people get whatever procedures they want and that they're covered by insurance. And so that's what these videos focus on. And what's interesting is that these procedures, they are not recognized in any medical guideline. They are completely new. So you have doctors in these videos saying things like, we're operating at the edge of medicine, we don't have guidelines, we have no data to show the mental health outcomes or anything like that. One clinician in a Q&A section proposed creating a Pinterest board.
You really cling to this data, but I will fully just take your ideas, like make a Pinterest board or something.
So that's what the feel of these conferences is. It's all about following the patients wherever they want to go, and the doctor's role is purely one of a service provider. I'm Lior Sapir. I'm a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, and I spent over 100 hours going through footage from WPATH and USPATH conference videos to write this article and produce this video for the Free Press. You can read it at thefp.com.
T, everybody. T. I mean, listen, if they're not talking about Israel, then you can probably trust the Free Press. That's my estimate. Folks, let's talk about this. It's going to be beyond the immediate policy skirmishes. The article underscores systematic vulnerabilities. You know what I mean? Specialized medicine, where conference candor exposes the gaps between professional guidelines and the real-world application, echoing scandals in other fields like the opioids or the pelvic mesh implants, if everybody remembers those. I've had a few old people really take to hard tumbles because of those. You know what I mean? For the transgender community, this could amplify stigma, deterring access to care in affirming states while bolstering narratives of over-medicalization. Ultimately, this is going to be pretty dividing. I feel as though it's going to issue in a lot more logical thinkers. I think it's going to make a lot of people reevaluate this whole field as less of an untouchable topic at dinners, you know what I mean? I feel like a lot more people are going to be more comfy discussing things like this. I feel like a lot more people are going to be out there in saying, like, yeah, maybe the idea that all of these things that we are just served by both political parties, Republicans or Democrats, maybe the ideas that are served by their most radical bases are worth questioning. You know, I don't know that Donald Trump should be king. And I also am pretty sure that, you know, doctors are pretty good at determining whether or not you're a boy or a girl. And then maybe you can figure that out for yourself by the time that you're 18. But otherwise, it's just the process of growing up. I feel like most people can agree with that. Is that pretty fair? Can we sit? Can we agree that that's a pretty rational, fair place to sit, you know? I don't know. I hope that that is something that a lot of people can just think about logically and not get emotional about, because we've attached too much emotionality to this topic because admittedly we're dealing with people's lives, we're dealing with people's identity, with how they feel, literally how they live their day-by-day lives. So I get that we're dealing with a lot of emotions, but just in general, we got to look at it as less of a confirmed thing and more like we gotta operate carefully. Only logical, fully developed brains are ready for these sorts of choices. And that's that. And that's that, folks. I think that we can call it because it's been a wonderful episode. I appreciate the fact that you all listened. This has been incredible. Thank you for listening as long as you did. Subscribe if you want more. We'll be back at it again tomorrow for our Friday episode, after which we will then come back on Monday. Can't wait for it. It's going to be great. In the meantime, this has been your Brain on Air with Ollie Vogt Larson. Thank you all so very much for listening. Subscribe if you want more, like if you liked it, and bye-bye.